What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, what I want to discuss is why Republicans blocked this bipartisan $1.2 trillion infrastructure package that only has about $600 billion in additional funding. What we know is right now, Republicans did block this. It was blocked by a vote of 49 to 51, meaning that one Democrat actually voted against their own bill. So this is really interesting to see, but what I can tell you right now is that Democrats are very upset. They said they wanted to see this vote happen. They wanted to see this bill go through. They want to pass this bill and move forward. What I can tell you right now, there's actually talks of not going forward with a bipartisan bill and instead changing things up, kind of flipping the order of operations and going with the budget reconciliation bill first. Now, I want to explain this because I think this is very interesting. What we are hearing, and this was actually brought up by Senate Democrat Tim Kaine today, he actually said flipping the script or flipping the order would actually make it for an easier bill to pass. Here's the reason why. What we are hearing right now, the idea behind all this, is that Democrats are worried that Republicans are just leading them along. They're just dragging them along while they simply delay this infrastructure package from passing. Well, that's possibly true because that's exactly what Nancy Pelosi did for Democrats last year before the election. This is one of the reasons why, according to some reports, that former President Donald Trump lost the election because he couldn't get an additional stimulus package passed when the American people needed it the most. But yet President Biden comes out and he says, I will give you a $2,000 stimulus check if you put Democrats in the Senate. So it is what it is. We are where we are right now. But what I can tell you is the Senate right now is just a mix of emotions. What we know at this point is that once this infrastructure bill passes, the bipartisan bill, once this passes, then lawmakers, specifically Democrats, are going to start putting in their own pieces of legislation into that $3.5 trillion package. And that will most likely balloon up over $4 trillion. Some expect it's going to go from $5 to $5.5 trillion over the next 10 years. But here's the interesting thing. What we know is if the budget reconciliation bill comes first, that is the first bill that they negotiate and pass. Here's what's going to change. We would then be starting to see, first, Republicans would be furious over this, but we would see that things like the expansion of Medicare, that would be on the forefront. That would be, first thing to be discussed and negotiated. We know student loan forgiveness would most likely be included. We know stimulus checks and all relief to the American people would be considered, and this would be something that many say would take center stage. And here's the reason why. What we've been hearing over the past few weeks is that the Delta variant is actually starting to spread much faster than many health experts even anticipated. But at the same time that all this is happening, okay, at the same time that the Delta variant is spreading, okay, we heard about Lambda just the other day, which isn't great news. We know that the infrastructure packages, they are being kind of held up at this point because they're trying to pass a bipartisan bill first and then go to the budget reconciliation. But all the additional relief is in the budget reconciliation bill, which chances are that's not even going to pass until possibly September. But here's the issue. Some say right now that if we want to see things like more relief to the American people, which is needed because of all these things that are going on, at the same time all this stuff is happening, these key federal aid programs are ending or running out of funds. That's huge. Now, I addressed this earlier on today that one of the funds that is not running dry, not by a long shot, they still has like 93% of the funding left, is the rental assistance program. That still has a lot of money left. A lot of money. There's only been like $3 trillion, or $3 billion, excuse me, not trillion, $3 billion that have even been used. There's still like $47 billion left. That's not running dry. But what we're hearing right now, some are actually saying if the and I think this is really interesting because like what has to be going on in this person's mind. One person said that if the rental assistance programs aren't dishing out the money, then why don't we just repurpose that money for something else? Well, you can't repurpose money that is needed. You can't do that. That doesn't make sense. That is absolutely mind-boggling. But what we know right now, some are saying we need to negotiate more relief for the American people, because as these key federal aid programs are running out of time and funding, the American people need more. We know, coming up very soon, okay, we know, and again, the way Congress works, they're so slow. But again, we know that the federal eviction moratorium ends in like 10 days. We know the school loan payments, okay, the pause on that ends in October, okay. We know the unemployment benefits, they end on September 6th. Stimulus checks, well, those are gone. And we got reports saying that no, like 50% of the money is still there, but no, it's not. I don't know who they're asking, but no, it's not. Just people here in the community. When I ask you guys, well, how much money you still have left over from the stimulus check? Well, do you think it's $1,200? No, zero. That is what the majority of people are saying. They have $0 left. Their bank accounts are pretty much dry. Well, since this pandemic started, Congress has actually passed about $6 trillion in assistance, and that has gone out to the American people and to help out the economy and to prevent the economy from a massive downturn. Many experts say that letting all of this past funding do its work might not be enough. But just months ago, they were saying, let's see what the stimulus packages have done. Let's let it do its work. Let's let it do its job. Let it run its course. And we will see what happens in the future. Well, the future is telling us that no, we cannot just let it run its course. That will actually be detrimental, not only to the American people, but to the economy as a whole. More say we should be considering additional assistance in order to prevent businesses from letting go of their employees. Well, we did this with the airline industry. And now we're getting reports that the airline industry obviously messed up this funding somehow, because they are still not having people come back to work. They are understaffed. They got to cancel flights, which causes a huge issue across the United States, kind of a ripple effect, where we see, oh, well, your travel is being delayed, so being that plane's delayed, every single plane after that is going to be delayed. Well, if we start to see a bunch of people like, you know what, I don't want to travel, I don't want to fly because it's just too much of a hassle. What if they cancel my trip? What if they cancel my flight? Well, then it becomes another issue as to, well, our tourism industry and our travel industry is going to take a hit as well. We will see. But some people are saying that we need to provide more to keep the average American household from falling into deeper debt, falling behind on rental and mortgage payments as well. And right now they say we need to give clear guidance for the rest of the world. The United States is supposed to lead by example, is what one expert says. But we are not the example as of right now. What we are hearing is that with another surge in COVID cases, it actually threatens to slow down the travel industry, like I already explained. It will close restaurants and displace workers that work in those restaurants. It will put more pressure on the retail and grocery industry, and it will kill off even more people. Let me talk about this for a second. It will close restaurants and displace workers. Not only in the restaurants does it displace workers. Guess what happens? When the restaurant industry isn't getting, let's say, 100% capacity every single night, which they're probably not, but if they're not, do you think that restaurant's going to order more food, more ingredients, more products to sell? No, they're not. So not only does the server and the cook and the managers, do they lose hours and income, the cleaning crew, they lose income, the restaurant, the city, the taxes, right? The people that bring in the food, the manufacturers, they lose income. And if they lose income, well, it's just a ripple effect. And that's exactly what we saw last year. And this is exactly what many economists say can't happen again this year. If it does, honestly, I'm scared to see what's going to happen. But some worry that Congress is just going to be too slow. And many worry that Congress, as of right now, is so focused on the long-term infrastructure packages that they are not seeing the immediate needs of the American people. And this is where a stimulus check would come in. Let me just be 100% clear on this. A stimulus check seems like it's a blanket approach, and everyone's like, yeah, it works, it's okay, but many people don't need it. That's true. Well, if 1% of the money goes out to a family that doesn't need it, that is okay by me. I would be more than happy to pay my fair share of taxes to accommodate that 1% that even though they don't need the money, they are still going to get it. I'd be more than happy to pay a little bit more in taxes in order to ensure that the other 99% gets the money that they need. And this is what is so confusing, is why do lawmakers, and again, I've been researching this for the past year, and I don't know, and I've been looking into this, and I've been kind of doing my own research and stuff over the past 5 to 10 years as well. But why do lawmakers look at the minority and be like, oh, we need to not provide for the majority of Americans because this group of people might get a little bit of benefit. They might get a little bit of a head start. It makes absolutely no sense. It's just, I don't know how some of these people think. But talking about infrastructure, let's get into that. Okay, right now some say the goal with Republicans blocking this infrastructure package, this $1.2 trillion infrastructure package just a short while ago, the goal is to actually open up debate and create dialogue. Now, this is already happening with the negotiation group, but some say they want to be included in this process and were never given a chance. And even today, Democrats are warning leadership that they are actually being excluded from the House infrastructure talks. And this is essentially what's happening. And a group of more than 30 Democrats on the House of Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, this even includes the chairman, Peter DeFazio, he actually warned party leaders today that they're trying to force House members to pretty much rubber stamp a bill, this bipartisan infrastructure package, even though they're telling them, let's pass it, and no, don't make any changes. Do not make any changes, because if you make changes, we got to go back to the Senate, and we got to deal with the Senate again. So what we're hearing right now, some are actually saying that, and here's a quote, okay, I want to give you this quote. It says, many of these critical reforms are not included or have not been fully addressed through the Senate bipartisan infrastructure process. We should reject any effort to categorically exclude the thorough, transparent, and transformational process undertaken by the House. Now, I want to read you that quote for one main reason. That the House has a different philosophy. The House has many members of the Progressive Party. Okay? Now, I want to bring that up because of one thing. Progressives are pushing for free community college, immigration reform, which some say it needs to be included in that budget reconciliation bill. Others say, no, do not include it into that bill because it'll make things extremely difficult. But they also want to see stimulus checks, which aren't really included yet, but I expect at some point more additional funding will be included. They also want to see Medicare for all, free lunches for all school-age children. Well, these are the views of the Progressive Party in the House. Bernie Sanders is not pushing for all those things in the Senate. He's just pushing for Medicare. He understands he's outnumbered in the Senate. But if progressives really want to, which they have already stated, they will tank the bill if more is not included. If this is not in tandem with the bipartisan bill, it doesn't come in tandem with the budget reconciliation bill, they will tank it, according to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. So there's a lot going on here. But one thing I can tell you is that many people are not happy with the infrastructure talks. Are we going to see a stimulus check in this? At this point, it doesn't matter. It honestly does not matter because these bills aren't passing. That's what's so frustrating, not only for the American people like you and I, but for lawmakers as well. These bills aren't passing, and that's causing a lot of heartache. That's causing a lot of people to wonder, are we even going to pass these bills, or are we just here to talk about them? Well, here's something I want to bring to your attention. There are a lot of people right now that are talking about the different packages, the different proposals and pieces of legislation that are within them. Well, what we know is that a recent poll that came out today is actually stating that 52% of Americans believe that the child tax credit monthly payments should end after 2021. I want to bring this up because right now, one of the discussions is, hey, let's get the child tax credit payment, let's get that extended to 2025. Well, it could happen. We could see it. That's something that is a possibility, but some say that no. we shouldn't be even talking about this if the American people don't really want it. If the overwhelming majority don't want this, then why should we even be discussing this? Because it's going to potentially cost about $400 billion over that span, over that 3 or 4 year period. So we'll see what happens there. They say that this was supposed to only be additional relief to help get us through this pandemic, not a form of universal basic income that provides for parents and children for the foreseeable future. Many are worried that this child tax credit payment of $250 or $300 per month for the next 6 months and then potentially much longer after that, it could potentially lead to higher inflation, and so they don't support it. Many said that they are not even taking these payments out of fear that they will actually have to pay them back at the end of the year. So that's a little bit of a insight as to what people are thinking at this point. My thought process is, if you don't need the money right now, don't take it. If you want to take it and put it into something that could potentially turn into, something more like an investment, great, do that. But if you don't need the money right now, just don't take it. Get the money at the end of the year to ensure that you're not overpaying next year, because I know a lot of people are going to be struggling next year as well. So that's what we know right now. As always, if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.